Gina is a force of nature.
You probably want to see what I'm doing, don't you?
She survived 67 days alone in the wild.
I got a fish.
She wasn't just surviving to win the show, she could have stayed years.
Meet the barefoot warrior, sharing the power of nature.
The more comfortable we are with the wilderness outside, the more comfortable we can be with the wilderness inside.
We don't get to see so many women doing their thing and rocking it.
This is wild. How does this even happen?
Australian Story, tomorrow at 8.
On Q&A, we give you the microphone.
Are junior rates age discrimination?
To ask the questions that matter to you.
That's a whole month. I won't be able to pay my rent.
We recognise the extra pressure that you're under as a single mum.
And debate the topics of our times.
If queer kids don't see themselves represented, how can they envision a future with them in it?
Let's be honest, teenage kids aren't going into Big W to buy sex ed books.
Q&A, tomorrow, 9:35.
Can I lift up a car to save my baby?
Do bald men really have more testosterone?
To answer such questions, these humans will go to extraordinary lengths.
What the FAQ?
What the FAQ? Wednesday on ABC TV and ABC iView.
5, 4, 3.
Please welcome the golden couple of news.
In 1987, can we expect a newsroom wedding?
The whole country is on the brink of a colossal change, and it is our job to report it.
No other news director would sign off on that.
Helen, take a breath. Haven't you done enough already?
Maybe you're not the marrying type.
I don't function without you.
The bicentennial commemorations will continue.
Give her a couple of months to pull it in if she can't. We talk replacements.
There's a 1 in 200 year news event. Nothing to do. 1 week.
It's going to be huge.
Electric Blue.
FIFA suspends the head of Spain's Football Federation as women's coaching staff resign over his World Cup conduct.
A Sydney man to face a bedside court hearing over a car crash which killed his 2 nephews and injured his daughter.
A crime scene established after a fatal house fire in Sydney's southwest.
A Melbourne man charged for allegedly threatening violence against Senator Lydia Thorpe.
Look at it open up for Reece Walsh, he's too good.
The Broncos beat the Raiders by 11 points in Canberra to secure top spot on the NRL ladder.
And ahead of this week's Voice referendum date announcement, we look at how the yes and no campaigns are faring.
Good morning. It's Sunday, the 27th of August. I'm Emma Rebellato.
And I'm Catherine Robinson. You're watching Weekend Breakfast, coming to you from the land of the Gadigal people. Well, the World Football governing body FIFA has suspended the Spanish Football Association president as the fallout from a controversial kiss at the Women's World Cup final continues. Luis Rubiales has been stood down for 90 days while an investigation is carried out after he refused to resign over kissing Spanish midfielder Jenny Hermoso.
The entire Spanish women's squad has vowed not to play for the country again while Mr Rubiales remains in charge, and players have begun wearing wristbands to show their support. 11 members of Spain's women's soccer coaching staff have now resigned. Barcelona's coach says the saga has removed the spotlight from the team's success.
Firstly, I'd like to give all my unconditional support to Jenny and the players of women's football because of what they're going through right now. Secondly, to condemn the behaviour of the Spanish Federation president, which seems to me absolutely unacceptable. And finally, to express that I'm sorry. It's a shame we're not talking about women's football, of what I think is a historic date for football, and we're instead talking about this behaviour, which is intolerable for me.
A man will appear in court, in a bedside court hearing today, after his 2 nephews, aged 9 and 10, were killed in a car crash in Sydney's south on Friday night. The 33-year-old driver was facing multiple charges, including dangerous driving causing death. Police will allege the 33-year-old driver lost control of the vehicle, crossed to the wrong side of the road and hit a tree. Authorities are also investigating whether speed racing was involved and are looking for the driver of a second car, a grey sedan.
A man has died after a fire engulfed a unit in Sydney's southwest overnight. Fire and rescue rushed to extinguish the blaze just after 10 p.m. in Punchbowl. Paramedics treated the 54-year-old, but he died at the scene. Police have established a crime scene as they investigate the cause of the fire. Authorities are urging anyone with information or CCTV footage to come forward.
Federal Police have charged a man with creating an offensive online video about Senator Lydia Thorpe, including threats of violence. The AFP launched an investigation into the video in January last year. On Friday, they announced the 30-year-old man is facing one charge of harassment. Senator Thorpe has released a statement identifying herself as the subject of the alleged threats. He's expected to face court next month.
The Victorian Liberal Party has easily retained the seat of Warrandyte in Melbourne's northeast following yesterday's by-election. Labor did not contest the vote to replace outgoing MP Ryan Smith in a safe Liberal seat. Nicole Werner has secured more than 57% of the primary vote. She thanked supporters at a victory party last night.
The people of the electorate of Warrandyte, thank you. Thank you for entrusting me with this honour. I am humbled that you would elect me and put your confidence in me, and I recognise the responsibility that lays ahead. To you I say this: I will do my best to give my all every single day to fight for you and to serve our wonderful community.
A fire on a train in the Indian state of Tamil Nadu has killed at least 9 people and injured 55 others. The blaze started when passengers tried to light a gas cylinder they brought on board to make coffee while the train was stopped at a station. Survivors had to break open the doors to flee the compartments.
As the fire broke out, we stood up and ran, but doors and windows were closed. We couldn't find the keys, and later a tool was found by somebody who then broke the door. From that door, those who could get out exited, and those who couldn't get out were trapped. Materials and belongings were left behind.
Thousands of people have gathered in the US Capitol for the 60th anniversary of Martin Luther King's March on Washington. In 1963, the black civil rights leader made an impassioned address to the crowd during his I Have a Dream speech, calling for federal and voting rights legislation. It's seen as a watershed moment for black Americans, but 6 decades later, many believe the struggle continues for equal voting rights, employment and education opportunities.
We have to be ready to fight until hell freezes over. Yes, sir. And then we got to be ready to fight on the ice. Because in conclusion, as I rest my case, all of our children can never ask the question, do they really mean it when they say Black Lives Matter?
Hundreds of enthusiasts from across the world have gathered in Scotland for what's being billed as the biggest organised hunt for the Loch Ness Monster in 50 years. The new search for the fabled so-called monster will use thermal imaging cameras mounted on drones and, there she is, underwater microphones. The legend began in 1933 when a hotel manager reported spotting the water beast, kicking off a worldwide fascination and spawning eyewitness accounts, hoaxes and legends. Monster enthusiasts are confident of finding answers.
There could be something that might appear, whether it's other marine life that they've maybe not noticed before, or if there is more caves or anything else where something could be living.
Emma, you a believer? Is Nessie out there?
I would have to say I'm a little bit of a skeptic.
Right.
And how about you?
Oh, I think I've been lucky enough to go here, and you stand on the shores, right?
Oh,
think,
yeah.
Oh, what was that? Oh, what was that?
Yeah.
But really, at the end of the day, probably not.
And God, brave people for going in, because those waters are chilly. They are so cold.
I mean, what is that? An eel doing a dance? I mean, I don't know.
A hand puppet?
Who knows? There's a lot of them gathering there though to find out and find the answers, so we will be across that story and bring it to you as it comes to hand.
Love it. OK, now let's go to sport with Daniela Intilli. And Danny, the Broncos, they're on top of the ladder.
Yeah, and close to sealing that minor premiership after a win yesterday against the Raiders, 29-18 in Canberra. The scores were locked 16-all at half-time. Fullback Reece Walsh led the charge with a field goal, try and 2 try assists to put Brisbane back on top of the ladder. But there are injury concerns for the 21-year-old who suffered a suspected knee injury towards the end of the match. The Sydney Roosters have also kept their finals hopes alive but suffered an injury blow. Joey Manu hobbled off the field with a hamstring concern in the 32-8 win against the Tigers. Joseph Swali'i stepped up for the Tricolours, who also face a nervous wait over Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. The prop was sin-binned for a late high hit on Tigers captain Api Carousel. The Roosters are 10th on the ladder, equal on points with the 8th placed Rabbitohs, and need to beat Souths on Friday night to reach the finals. The Western Bulldogs are back in the top 8 for now after beating Geelong by 25 points at Cardinia Park. Rory Lobb starred for the Dogs in the 16 goals, 8 104 to 11 13 79 win. They trailed the Cats by 8 points at three-quarter time but kicked 6 majors in the final quarter. To make the finals, the Dogs have to rely on Carlton beating the Giants later today. Adelaide's Taylor Walker kicked 9 goals as the Crows beat West Coast by 45 points in Perth last night. The 17 goals, 21-123 to 12-6-78 victory means the Eagles finish with the wooden spoon, while Adelaide narrowly misses the finals. And Ange Postecoglou's strong start continues for Tottenham in the Premier League. Spurs won 2-0 at Bournemouth to post back-to-back wins and move to the top of the table alongside West Ham and Arsenal. The Hammers beat Brighton 3-1, while Man United came back from 2 goals down against a 10-man Nottingham Forest to win 3-2 at Old Trafford, and Arsenal drew in its match. So how good for Ange Postecoglou?
So good. A great start indeed. Thanks so much, Danny.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for your company here on Weekend Breakfast. Still to come this hour, embracing sign language with interest in Auslan on the rise. More classrooms will soon be able to offer it as a subject to students.
Our reporter Ruby Cornish takes a look at just how far Australia's deaf education has come.
Also, later this hour, the vagus nerve. Ever heard of it? Well, it's a hot topic in wellness circles and on social media. We'll be getting into that with Dr. Teresa Larkin from the University of Wollongong. And I've got to declare, I didn't know about the vagus nerve until this week.
Yes, and wow, once you start looking into it and you start working out, so this can help you with stress, with good health. They're dubbing it sort of the electric highway. So if you stimulate it, you can feel better, and people are trying all these different weird and wacky things of how to do it.
See, one of them is massaging from down the sides of your neck. It's the 10th largest cranial nerve, kind of goes from your brain to your gut, from my understanding of what...
Yeah, and one of the things you can also do is stick your head in a bucket of ice water.
Okay, or just gargle water. I read that one too.
So who knows? We're going to take you through all of it. What does it mean? What are all these things that are going viral on social media? Do they work?
Yeah.
Find out.
What goes on in the vagus nerve does not stay in the vagus nerve, right?
No, it does.
Well, let's check the weather now in the capitals. Brisbane looking partly cloudy, mostly sunny in Sydney. Canberra, some morning fog and a shower or two. Cloudy for Melbourne, Adelaide and Hobart, partly cloudy as well. Similar conditions for Perth. Darwin, though, fine and sunny, heading for a top of 34 degrees.
Well, let's get more now on our top story. Soccer players and coaches have welcomed FIFA's decision to suspend the president of the Spanish Soccer Federation for 90 days after he kissed a player on the lips after Spain's victory in the Women's World Cup.
Luis Rubiales insists the kiss was consensual, but the player, Jenny Hermoso, says it was not.
Spain's winning World Cup moments could soon become a league.
Cider made from apples that Neil had grown, that Dad had made the cider. They were beautiful people.
Farmer in the pot. They love it all over Australia. There's a radio show that Australians all know. If you're rich or you ain't got a cracker. It tells stories so grand of this vast, timeless land, and they call it Sunday with Macca. They all call it Sunday with Macca. Yeah, they all call it Sunday with Macca. Get on with it, Macca.
I will. Good morning. Welcome to the program. I hope to be getting on the road again in September, coming up, just before daylight saving. Hope to go to Perth and hope to go to Darwin, but we'll just see what we can see. And we'll get to Melbourne as soon as we can. We've got a little venue in Melbourne, right in Surrey Hills, I think, right in downtown Melbourne, which will be really nice. Haven't been there. And get those lovely, lovely Davidson's plum. I hope they still make them, Kel. Where are they? In South Yarra. Davidson's plum Monte Carlos. With a cup of tea, you just can't beat it. Our number's 1300 700 222. Email maccatracks@gmail.com. G'day, this is Macca.
Macca.
Yep.
It's Mark. You're a road correspondent, but at the moment I'm your bagpipe correspondent in Edinburgh. I'm definitely... I've taken a very long road for a holiday.
You're at the Edinburgh Festival, are you? At the Tattoo?
At the Tattoo. At the Tattoo.
Right.
I'm playing the pipes back after 50 years. It's been an incredible experience.
When did you start practicing?
Oh, for this, over a year ago. Not full time, but yeah, we've been going for over a year. I think I got selected in, maybe it was sort of September last year. There was a fair old selection process, and I just scraped in. I want to make that very clear. There's some pipers who are, right at the top of the level. I'm at the reasonable to good level, and but there's some. We're playing in the massed band. It's a heap of guys that I went to school with, and some younger guys, and we're part of the massed bands. So it's been an incredible experience to come back, and the whole show's amazing. It's come so far. I just can't tell you this. The quality of the musicianship here is the brass bands and the Americans and Norwegians and the Swiss and the Brits and then the piping is great. We sort of start and end the show. And in between they have the military music with the marching, and they're marching with big instruments and complex movements, and it's just beautiful. And singing and a couple of good songs to finish the show, and the crowds it's been sold out every night basically. Great fun.
Now tell me this. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Tell me this.
Yeah, yep.
When you were at school, you went to Scots, didn't you?
Yeah, I went to Scots. Yeah.
Did everybody have to play the bagpipes at Scots?
No. Only the crazy ones. It was pretty big then. It's enormous now. There's a lot of guys in the pipe band. When I was there, I was about 150, and we did a lot of drill. And bagpipe music's come a long way, and it's actually beauty. There's electric bagpipes and all sorts of stuff, and the quality of the playing has gone through the roof. So it's now, I think there's 500 kids at Scots play. So I should say, Scots Albury won the World Championship in Grade 4B. We played in 4B, didn't quite make the final, got robbed by a nasty judge, but got about halfway up.
That'll happen.
That'll happen. But Scots Albury, unbelievable musicians, a mix of students and ex-students and teachers, and they were just superb. They got so many good musicians in that band. There's a young guy who plays drums, and he's going to the Melbourne Con for jazz next year. And one of the young guys just won the juvenile under 18 over here, which is an incredibly hard thing to do. There's a lot of good talent out there, not just at my old Scots, but others and other schools. Haileybury in Melbourne, they got third. They won third grade, I should say.
So, Mark, tell me, set the scene for this Edinburgh Tattoo. There's bands from all over the world. Is that the story?
Bands from all over the world. There's a tattoo band which is about 3 rows out of the 12. So they're guys and girls who've auditioned, and for instance, 2 of their top 3 pipers are female. There's a lot of women playing now. There's 2 Scots regiments. There's the RAF regiment. There's 3 school and combined school type regiments from around, or 3 Australian ones. There's a whole heap of different groups that make up 1 file each. So you've got 12 files of 12 basically, the pipers and then drummers as well. So it's 240 odd people just in the mass band.
So, see, I always thought that the Irish populated the world and travelled everywhere, but it seems like the Scots have done the same thing.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I'm going to see the statue up at up in Northern Ireland of the Emigrants, which is next tomorrow, and the next day we're going right up to wherever it is. I just can't think of the name. Helmsdale. Helmsdale has got a statue called the Immigrants, and we're driving up to see tomorrow. So that's about that thing. But I should say that one of the files is Irish guys. A lot of these guys are real soldiers. They're not just bagpipers. They are real soldiers, and the Irish lost 3 guys in Afghanistan, for instance. So they pipe, but then they do the other. The bands, the marching bands tend to be full-time musicians, and they are truly, they're exceptional musicians. The Americans put on shows, the Norwegian put on shows, the Swiss. It's an incredible show. I think they've done this after we've knock off and we go back and they put on a cast show or they put on shows in town. They're truly virtuoso musicians.
There's something about the bagpipes. Last night I saw that Brassed Off movie. It was on. I only saw the last bit of it, which is about the I think, based on the Grimethorpe Colliery brass band. But there's something about a band, isn't it? Whether it's bagpipes or brass band, it just moves the soul, doesn't it? Really, when
you see the crowd and you see the reactions of the people in there. It just people clapping and cheering, standing up and crying, and they love the pipes, but the other stuff as well. And actually, the Major General gave us our farewell speech today and made some awards, and he pointed out that there's a row beside where we end up marching to in the first set, where a lot of the people who are in wheelchairs and disabled and whatever, they have the front row, and just you see their responses to it, mate. It's incredible. People have had a pretty tough time, some of them, and they're moving to the music or they're not, but you can see the joy on their faces. Well, it's really powerful stuff. Actually, it's beautiful.
And how's the weather been in Edinburgh? You're in summer, end of summer over there. What's the deal?
Which 15 minutes do you want to report for? It's lightly raining on me now. That's quite good. So I'm standing outside. Look, it's very exciting if it gets over 20 degrees. I can tell you that. It has been a very wet summer, I think. I saw that they'd had 300% of the normal rain throughout July. Well, the first week we were here, we were doing 18-hour days. We did 3 of those in a row, and they were it was raining for most of that time, on and off. So it was cold. But now it hasn't been raining too much. It's just cool. It's great for bagpipes. I love it.
And the house, have you done any, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Mark Campbell. He's our rowing correspondent and our sometimes bagpipe correspondent. But how's the, do the Scottish row they got rowing teams and stuff?
Oh, they've had some great rowers, actually. Commonwealth Games, they row for Great Britain. So there's members of Scottish, Edinburgh University and so on, who've ended up going to and rowing for Great Britain at Olympics and World Championships and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
Just trying to think of the name. They won a single scull 3 times in a row, and his name's just in the lightweights thing. Great guy. I just can't think of his name just off the top of my head, but 1991, 2 or 3. Lovely guy, but they just can't get his name straight away. But yeah, they've had some. They flew him up the top of a mountain after his 3rd one, and with his skull, and had him standing on the top of Ben Nevis, I think.
Wow.
With his skull on his shoulder. Yeah.
Mark, you sound like you're at home, mate. You sound like you're loving being at your spiritual home.
It's an amazing place, Mac. I recommend it to anyone. Put it on your bucket list. Like when I came here in '73. There was maybe 12 rows of wooden old seats. Now there's a 9,000 seat stadium. It's completely taken apart and put back together every year in front of the castle, and you've got the background of the castle. And it's just been such a privilege to stand up there on the ramparts and look over the Firth of Forth, and you're looking across at Fife, which is a hard thing to say. But, just every night we've sat there and just watched the sun going down, and it's a beautiful place. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but that's the set I'm just missing to make this call. There's not a problem. There's more than enough of this to go around.
Now, Mark, all the people from other countries like Sweden or wherever they're from, are they Scottish people or they're Swedish people who took up the pipes and stuff?
No, the one that I should mention, the Norwegians just won the Sword of Honour, which is the best shack of the show. And these guys are all doing masho. You'd love it, mate. They have a certain number of volunteers, and then they have a lottery for the rest. And the King's Guard ends up with all the super athletes who are the marchers, what have you, male and female, and then probably all the best high school athletes, and so they just work, or musicians I should say, and then they just work flat out for a year. And all they do is either play their music and do 10,000 sit-ups a day, or they run up mountains and do 10,000 sit-ups a day. And they are the fittest, and they sing like you can't believe it, and play music. They're lovely kids. They're all 19, 20 years old.
And did you say they're doing national? Did you say they're doing?
They're doing national service. Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? I was speaking to a Frenchman the other day, and we were I don't know how the topic came up, and he said we were talking about because the Vietnam veterans 50 years since the end of the war's been on, so there's been some commemorations and things down in Canberra, and we were talking about that, and the national service was a part of that. That's like 65 to 72, and he said, well, we had, he said in France, because French are very strident about their, very nationalistic in lots of ways, and he said we used to have national service, and he said now we've stopped it, and he said I marked the time that France started to decline, in my eyes, he's talking, was when we stopped national service, and there's something great about national service. You don't have to be talking about killing people or whatever, but
anything but. Yeah, anything but with these guys. Yeah, you should see what they do. You'll love it when you see it on TV.
And I've always
see these kids.
I've always thought that the thing we should do in Australia, that everybody, starting maybe in primary school, should know that you've got to do a week or 2 weeks where you do something for the community. It doesn't matter what it is. But you talk to people in national service and who've done it, and they say it's the best time of their lives. They learn to make a bed. They learn to do all those sort of things. A bit of discipline never hurt anybody. And I'm not, I just, as you've said there, and when you're talking about Norwegians, it sounds, it's wonderful to see people all pulling together in the same direction, isn't it?
Oh, these kids, there'll be such an advertisement for it. I mean, the majority of them are volunteers because, as I say, it's voluntary, and then they have a small lottery. You won't get drawn out of the hat. But they've had the time of their lives. They really are. This is the very last thing they're doing. They did the choir. They sang and played instruments in St Giles Cathedral here, and honestly, it's one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my life. And that was their singing as well as their musical instruments. They were just superb, and just great kids. They're just kids. I'm sure the musicians are the best high school students in Norway, and they just ended up in the King's Guard. But they've all had a ball. I love it.
Mark, we should. I'd love to be there. I'd love to be there, and my dear mother and my grandmother.
Would love it.
I'd love to be there too.
We'll watch it on telly because I think it's a really good show. All the feedback has been so amazing. And the guy who's just retiring, Major Gordon Rowan, I should mention, he wrote most of the songs that we're playing, at least half of the songs that we play in our set. And he is just a superb, he's done, I think, maybe 10 or so years as the director of music here. And just a lovely guy, strict as hell, if we make a bad start when we're practicing, it's just all stop and we start again. But he's a terrific fellow, and he's done the nation here and the whole place a great service. It's been pretty impressive, actually.
Mark Campbell, ladies and gentlemen, is our rowing correspondent. He's also a vet. Have you noticed how's the animal life in Edinburgh and Scotland? Have you noticed dogs and cats and stuff?
I've been patting every second dog that goes past. It's like when you're away from them. So it's really great. They're not quite as used to people patting their dogs, but once you sort of get into it, they love you, and it's great for the dogs.
I think that's because the dogs think you might start playing the bagpipes and it'll scare them and they run away.
I think you're the bagpipe in hand, they run, I could tell you. But yeah, it's a lovely country. I'd encourage anyone, put it on your list. It's a great show, but the country and the that area across at Fife there, all around through to St Andrews, beautiful country, great place to drive around. The castle's worth. Just get a day and go up and look out over the Firth and just sit there and enjoy it for a bit.
Mark Campbell, great to talk to you, mate. Good luck. We're seeing you. Come back.
Righto. Okay, all the best and all the best to everyone over there. Okay, we miss you.
Thanks, mate. See ya.
Okay, see you, mate. Bye.
This is the City Pipe Band of Hawkesbury. Didn't Mark sound enthusiastic and loved it? The rowing, the dogs, and the bagpipes. seen it on the tees from time to time. My first foray into music was playing the chanter for a little while. But the bloke who taught me, I was only about 9 or 10 or something. I'd go to lessons, and the bloke who taught me didn't bring his own chanter, so he'd say, "Oh no, you play it like this," and then he'd pull it out of his mouth. And I said, "Mum, he never brings his